Hello guys, hey, Dave Pierce here. I'm excited to show you how I've set up my Pulk Sled and maybe give you some new ideas of how to improve yours. So there's a few features that I've added to my sled that have really been helpful. Some of the features that I have on my sled I've borrowed from ideas I've gotten like on Angry Owl Outdoors channel, for instance. He has a really good setup that I liked that I've incorporated in my sled of these tie down points that are really adaptable. So I've put those on my sled. Shout out to Angry Owl on that idea. Some of the features that I've added to my sled that I haven't seen a lot of information out there about are this chain brake, and I'll show you that chain brake, how I set it up and how I use it. And then the other thing are some deployable fins, which I have on my sled, that allow me to deploy the fins down when I want them. I can partially deploy them, fully deploy them, all from outside the sled. I don't have to take anything out of the sled to put my fins down. I don't have to, I can do them in my gloved hands. It's really pretty adaptable. And then I've just added a tow handle up on the front to be able to manipulate my sled in and out of the truck, or to be able to pick it up and pull it. Like if I'm crossing a river or something like that, I can grab it and pull it. And it is kind of a nice feature that I've added. So let me show you what I've got on this sled, and then we'll go through how to set these different things up and how to make them. So this is one of my Pulks that I already have set up. I've got another one here that I'm gonna show you how I set the whole thing up. But these are those attachment points that Angry Owl had on his sled that I picked up off Amazon. All of the information on where to get those is in my comments section down below. It gives you links of where to get those. I'm not getting any kickback on any of that, just a friendly help to help you know where to get these different pieces of hardware. So the channel kit I get from skipulk.com. The handle right here, I took a Wolf Tooth Fatpaw grip, put that over a piece of 1/2 inch PVC, and then ran some rope through it and tied a knot underneath, and then just wrapped it in paracord to give it some stiffness and kind of add a different, just little feature. I kind of like how it looks. But, so that's nice. That's handy for pulling it in and out of the truck, lifting it up to pull it across the river, things like that. So I've really liked having that on there. So this chain brake that I added, so this is just 24 links of yellow plastic chain. I got this at Home Depot, and I keep this chain just hanging above the snow as I'm skiing along. The bottom part of it can drag on the snow. I don't care. Just got the front end just up off the snow. I've doubled over these carabiners. I've made them opposing so that when I clip in, I've had a couple times where I've lost my carabiner because it's been underneath the sled and come unlocked, and then I don't have any way to retract my chain, my brake. So I've got these opposing carabiners. These hook to a piece of paracord that comes up to my hip belt. And that hip belt has a little cam lock, and I'll show you that here in a little while. As I'm going along, if I start downhill and I want that load to be restrained back, I can unclip that paracord out of that cam lock and let it drop. It allows this chain to drop, and as the sled slides forward, when the chain's on the ground, it slides over the chain and starts to create some resistance, and it really works well. Now you're probably wondering about this green connector. So I wanted something that could take some abrasion. I didn't want to use paracord right to the chain. I wanted something with low friction so that when I go to pull this back out, there's not a lot of resistance to me pulling it back out of the snow. So I made this little retainer a little connector to allow this to go underneath the sled and slide. But when I want to pull it back out, there's not a lot of resistance. It just pops back out pretty easily. That's worked really well. Not a lot of wear on it so far. So, these connecting points I love because it allows me to use like this this Elasticord netting with some clips on it, and I can just clip it right into those rings. Works great because you're always carrying different kinds of loads. Sometimes I might be carrying firewood, sometimes I'm carrying camping gear. You know, depending upon what you're carrying, it's really adaptable. I've got another large bag that I've created that I just run some paracord around, run it up and through the straps on the bag, and then I can cinch it down in the back and it pulls the whole thing down in tight. So these have just been awesome. I totally love those. This deployable fin. So this fin right here is a design that I created, and I ended up I cut the first ones out on a CNC, but the last couple I've made just using some 1/8 inch aluminum plate, and I've just drilled and then cut them out with my jigsaw with the metal blade, and they work great. A little bit of sanding after, a little bit of file work and some sanding. They look as good as the ones I did on the CNC. So here's the way I deploy these. I bought myself a 1/2 inch wrench, and I've got that clipped onto the side of the sled, so it's here all the time. And it's got a big old red paracord on it, so that if it drops in the snow, it's easy enough to find again. But this is always here handy because I put a couple of these rare earth magnets on the back. So I just drop it in and it stays right there. So when I want to lower my fins, right now they're deployed, but if I want to lower my fins, and I've done this with my big old mitts on and they work great. It just works really slick. So to adjust this, I just loosen up, and I don't need to loosen it very much, but this tool is what makes it so adaptable with gloves on. Just lower it down a little bit, then I take my thumb, slide that in position, because the center pivot it's got a lock nut on the back, it's not too tight, and then I can just lock this back down. And now that fin is locked in place. And that works so great for keeping the sled from side hilling. Works really slick. And if I want to just partially deploy it, I can put as much fin out as I want, or I stow it back up out of the way again. So that has been super handy. I really, really, really like that. And I can show you how I made that as well. And then when I'm done with that, just clip it back in and lock it down. And it just locks into those magnets right there, and it is on there. I have yet to lose one, knock on wood. So we'll get started assembling this sled. Okay, to mount this channel kit, we're going to measure back 1.25 inches from that leading hole and mark it, which I've done there. That's 1.25 inches, mark it, and then 1.25 inches over here, mark it. Then we'll take this backing plate with the 2 holes facing forward, and we mark this back hole. take our drill motor, line it up there. And we're going to take our mounting hardware and we're going to grab one of these bolts and we're going to go through that back plate there and hold that in position, and then we're going to drill our front 2 holes. Alright, now we're going to take our backing plate and we're going to put it underneath, put our channel on top, and then one of our big fender washers. Now I just put my wire gate pins in there so stay in position. So the rest of this is pretty straightforward. We're just going to attach these tie down points. So put it in that 3/8 hole, and some of them are a little bit snug, so you gotta just screw the bolt down in. And then I use one of these big fender washers that I've got down in my link below in the description, and then a nylock nut to lock it into position. So that's just rinse and repeat all the way around all these points. These 2 holes up here I'm going to show you last, because those are going to be the ones that we're going to attach our brake to. So, okay, we've gone all the way around. Now we've got the last one that we're putting in here. So now I'm going to go around and cinch down all the bolts. Okay, I've tightened up all of the other fittings except for this one right here. We'll finish it up. Okay, they're all tight. Now on this front one, we are going to put one of our tie down points facing in. We'll screw that down in. And then we are going to put a washer and then a star washer, a fender washer, then a star washer, then this other tie down, and it's going to be facing back like so. This is going to be our chain brake attachment point. And then I take my nut, my lock nut on there, and I do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so on this, for our chain brake, we have a tie down up top, the 3/8 by 1 inch bolt going through, and then underneath we have a fender washer, a star washer, another one of the tie down points is what our chain brake will attach to, and then I have my locking nut underneath. So I'm going to start to tighten that up, and then we'll get it into position for final tightening. Now that's exactly what I want it to look like underneath there. I want some gap between the ring and the tie down point and the edge of the sled. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the other one. Alright, we're going to put this back here a little bit. We've got both ends tightened up. As you can see, we've got them away from the edge of the sled so they're not touching. And now we're going to make our pull handle. Okay, I've taken my 5 1/4 inch piece of 1/2 inch PVC. I've put a little bit of dish soap on it. And this will help me get this fat paw grip on there. And that's going to be my grip. So, okay, so I tied the end of this rope. You could just tie a knot in there. I just took some, bended it over and took some copper wire and wrapped it around there for a fold back that will keep it from sliding up through. So next I'm going to pull this rope up through the hole here. Put it through my handle and then tuck it back down through on the other side. And then I usually like it to sit about right there, just not quite off the front of the sled. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold this back right there so you can see it. So now that's there where I want it. I'm going to fold this back. I'm going to take a piece of copper wire and I'm going to wrap it around here. I need to prep it with some pliers. Okay, I'm just folding this wire back. I'm going to fold this rope over. I'll just clip it off, nice and flush. And then I'm going to cut this and I'm going to singe it. Okay, that's good and flat, and we'll stay there in position. Okay, unless you've done saddle work, it's not likely that you're going to have this next tool. But if you have some hemostats, you could probably make it work. You don't need to do this, but I'll show you how I did it. So take about an arm's length of paracord. Let's go a little bit more. Let's go 1.5. Doesn't need to be precise by any means. So I'm going to shove this through. Grab it out, and I need to have equal amounts on both sides. And then I'm going to make sure that this is centered on my rope. And I'm going to come across here, and I'm going to use my saddle bleeder. Just going to want to make sure that that is, and I'm going to shove this through. This is for pulling strings through a saddle, strings through a saddle. So I get it on the other side. I'm going to bring this one that I crossed across. I'm going to put it through this bleeder and pull it through. So now I've got that so that it'll hold snugly on that side. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I just pull it up, pull that in snug, and then make sure that I'm pushing the bleeder through from not the same angle as this other side. Now I want to make sure my strings are evened up again. Make them nice and snug. And then I'm going to start off going through here. Through this side. that right there is just going to hold this in position from sliding back and forth. And then I just take it and do a wrap around here, make it a little stiffer. But you don't have to do this. You can just leave it as just that handle on there, or you can just put a rope through there, whatever you want to do. Okay, now that I've got it wrapped right down to the bottom, I'm going to go just above my last one there, and I'm going to shove this through from front to back. Until it comes up through. I'm going to pull this all the rest of the way through. And I want to take my time and work this down and make sure that it is super, super tight. You can use a little bit of cinch it in up against there good and tight. Clip the end off and sear it. That'll keep it in position. Now I'm going to just do this same thing on the other side. I want to make sure that it's good and tight before I get started, so I will pull this through, make sure that this is good and snug.
Dave breaking trip.